Before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you that while Caitlin and Sophia are dietitians, we're not your dietitians. This means the information shared in the Food Freedom Fertility podcast is intended to entertain, educate, and inform. It is not a substitute for medical care. This information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making any changes. Welcome to another episode of Food, Freedom, and Fertility. We are your hosts, Sophia Pavia and Caitlin Johnson, both registered dietitian nutritionists, both specializing in women's hormonal health. And we are here today with a guest that is very exciting for me because she was my roomie in college, Maureen Lilly. And let me tell you a little about Maureen, okay? I'm beaming over here because I have like my two favorite people ever, and it's all I can do to not slip into like awkward inside jokes and Lord of the Rings quotes while talking to these ladies. But so Maureen is not only a just lovely person in general who anyone would be blessed to befriend, but she specializes in helping you get your kitchen, your house, your life, your grocery list, all these things put together in a way that makes the changes, whatever changes you're trying to make in your diet, actionable. So many dietitians are out there telling you what to eat, when to eat it, what you should be buying, what to avoid, what, when. Maureen is the how. She is a bare knuckle bucket of do. She is a get it doner. And we have her here today to help you, our listeners, be able to actually implement these changes. Because so many of you were raised on fast food and cereal or nonstick pans and a can of Pam, and this is how you know how to cook. This is what you know how to do. You don't know how to set your kitchen up for success. So as much as you listen to Caitlin and I telling you all these wonderful things you should be doing, you go to the grocery store, you're overwhelmed. You come home to your kitchen and you say, what the hell am I supposed to do now? And that is where Miss Maureen comes in. So welcome, Maureen. We are so thankful to have you here today. I didn't even give any credentials. Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Do you want to know?
Tell us your credentials, Maureen.
Tell us about your education. Your experience, your expertise.
I'm also a registered dietitian, fellow RD. I have my master's in nutrition and I have my undergrad in exercise science. And yes, I've been in practice for the last 10 years. And from being in that practice for the last 10 years, I came to realize just how much people don't need to be. I always tell people, I'm like, it's 5% education, 95% behavior change. Like so many people kind of know that I could be doing this. But then the reality of going into the grocery store, going into their kitchen and making it happen is where they shut down and are not able to like move forward with those goals. So that's where after the last 8 years, I decided to kind of shift into this realm, seeing that is where I felt like people needed the most help. And
Absolutely.
That my skills, just my natural personality and skills of organization,
100%.
like were attuned to that.
Why are you so good at organization?
Absolutely in her skill set. Yeah, tell us the secret, Maureen.
Tell you the story. I feel like one of the reasons why my mom will tell you like stories about me, like organizing Tupperware from like before I could crawl, like, you know, getting to like those drawers and not just like, I would yank stuff out, but then I would sit there and sort them like into things and put them back in. And so I think it's just somewhat part of like my DNA.
Dream toddler.
I know. But then I also, and Sophia knows this, she being with me in school, I'm dyslexic. And I really do believe that being dyslexic, because in part, like inside my mind feels a little bit more jumbled, that in order for me to make sense of my environment, to be able to like move through this world, I need things around me to be organized and set up in a way that helps to like not clash with my brain, but to like kind of help it see and move like through those things. But of course, I felt like that was unique to me. But I feel like dyslexia was more well known when we were younger. But things like just how prevalent like ADD and ADHD, that a lot of people, operate and don't work well being surrounded by clutter or just being in like disorganized environments, that we all really thrive having in places that are more organized
and less information coming at us, right? Like,
yes,
all that information input is part of the overwhelm too.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I talk about that idea of like information overwhelm along with just physical stuff overwhelm. Like the classic going into a restaurant and like just wanting a simple menu rather than like the 5 pages of things that just like can feel so much more overwhelming and actually cause you like physical anxiety or just like really kind of bog you down in the weeds rather than like when it's just simplified for you.
Maureen Absolutely. Is the queen when it comes to these kinds of things. And I would not be here with you as a dietitian if it wasn't for Maureen. And I know I have talked about this on episodes previously about how making it through college and figuring out how to do all these things was, I was the opposite side of the spectrum for Maureen. Someone who had next to no work ethic, someone who had a natural ability to understand what someone was trying to teach me, lock it in my brain, and use it when I needed to use it. And I skated through all of lower education doing that. Well, when you go to a school as rigorous as what Maureen and I went to, we went to Bastyr University, which is like the foremost naturopathic medical school in the world. It doesn't work like that. That's where naturability meets hard work. That's where the people there have both. And so if you are not going to be able to actually study, actually learn, actually work hard, I don't care how smart you are, you're not going to be able to just to sit there in a biochemistry class and just absorb everything and just ace the test. And so I did my version of, quote, studying for the first couple tests in that class. I think there was organic chemistry, actually, that first year that I was there, and would get like a D. And I'm like, what the hell? I have never studied so hard in my life. I have never tried so hard at anything. And I'm getting a D, whereas like one drop of that effort in high school would have given me the A guaranteed. Super tough on me. And then here's Maureen, who has 50 ways to learn something, because for her whole life, sitting there in class and taking notes was simply not enough. That wouldn't do it for her. And she had gone to specialized education classes that taught her all different ways to learn things, all different ways to organize the information that you got in a class, how to utilize different learning systems, visually, kinetically, auditory, how to combine them in different ways to where your brain is actually absorbing this information in a way that it can use. And Maureen got that, and thank God I lived with her. I would just camp out in her room and see the way she did things. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I could have made it. She was like a tutor for me, but not for a particular subject. She taught me how to learn. And that's is so cool. Absolutely the personality that she brings into her practice is she teaches you how to use all this information that comes at you from our podcast, from our courses, from articles you're reading, whatever. She teaches you how to actually do that. And that's absolutely her personality. This talk about taking lemons and making lemonade. She has just turned what a lot of people make as something that really harms their progress in life academically or professionally and turned it into a way to serve everyone.
We should never get my mom and you on a podcast together talking about that.
So with a lot of different, what people these days would call like neurodivergence, I often see like learning the right way to do something or learning the way that I learn how to do something. It becomes almost like I have to do it this way. But I just heard, so I had that thought like, oh, you need order, you need organization. But I just heard Sophia say you had like 50 ways to learn how to do something. So like when you translate that into the kitchen, how do you walk in with somebody when they say to you, Like, I know I need to focus more on protein at my meals. Like, what's the first type of suggestion that you would give to somebody with that type of a goal?
I think I would, yeah, like with someone like that, if that was their goal, I would kind of back up to trying to look at, what does their shopping look like? Are they meal planning or are they not meal planning? And just see, and to ask also, what have you tried and what hasn't worked well, and what has, and like, has there been anything you tried that has worked well? Because it is like, some people might have tried a lot of things that aren't working for them just based on like how their mind works, and or that they're missing pieces. I find that oftentimes, people see the idea for the eggplant parmesan on like Instagram and, try it, and they've, never shopped for one, they've never chopped one, they're just missing other pieces. And so then just that experience feeling hard or difficult, kind of shuts them down from, like wanting to do that again when, there was other steps that need to be taken. So if someone was, like if their end goal was, I'm trying to increase protein in my meal, I'd kind of ask about like, well, how do you think about adding in protein? Like, is it even a thought, like when you're shopping, to think through like, what are the proteins I like for breakfast? What are the proteins I like for this? And do you even know what food sources are proteins that are available to you? And kind of just check and find out where those knowledge gaps are. And then also to see where, it looks like this is like a meal planning, like we're missing out on, being, intentional there and working on some skills there. Or, this is a, not knowing that nuts and seeds, have protein in them, or that, you don't really like meat, but you're not really fully aware of all your vegetarian sources.
Right.
So I would work with people differently on that, but also kind of go back.
Can we role play a little bit? Can I pretend to be your client and can tell you something that I want to work on?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I've been looking into it, and I can tell that blood sugar is a really big issue for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm really struggling most of the time with having enough protein at lunch. I do great at breakfast, got the egg thing down, or I do a protein smoothie. But if I don't make enough dinner to have for lunch leftovers, like I panic at lunchtime, and I don't know how I can continue focusing on my blood sugar balance at lunchtime.
Yeah. Where are you typically at for lunch? Are you at a workspace? Are you at home? Like,
yeah, I'm at home mostly. I work from home ever since COVID.
Okay. So you're able to prepare lunch from the things there. So when you're walking into the kitchen at lunch, there's kind of a, and
we always have the things in our house. Like I buy enough ground beef, I buy enough chicken, but it's kind of like I get to lunchtime and I don't have ideas, or, the ground beef is raw in my fridge. It's not like I can just microwave it.
Yeah. Yeah. You need some like quick things. Like you want them to be kind of quick to assemble for the lunch too.
I totally need it quick because I need to like jet into the kitchen while my kids are with the nanny downstairs and get back to my office before they see me.
Yeah. What type of lunches do you typically end up doing? What do you like to eat for lunch?
I mean,
what's been normally happening recently?
When I get to lunchtime, if there isn't leftovers, it's almost like I grab some carrots, I'll have a slice of toast with peanut butter, and like I realize I don't have a lot of protein there, and so like maybe I'll grab some string cheese, but that's not lunch. Like that's not enough for me.
Yeah, that sounds more like a snack, like snacky type things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I mean, if you build a large enough, Sophia and I are queens of making snack plates. If you build a large enough one, you can get some good protein from that. Do you meal plan any of your lunches or dinners?
No, I pretty much like we've got breakfast down. It's either quick and easy, and I meal plan dinners. But, like my husband, he just wants a frozen meal from like Costco for lunch. And so I just find myself, the kids get a smorgasbord of things, but it's me that doesn't have a plan for lunch.
Yeah. And it sounds like you sometimes do eat leftovers. So you're like, okay with, eating leftover type things, or.
I do like leftovers, but it depends on the leftover. Like most of the time I don't want to eat the same thing for lunch that I had for dinner 3 days in a row.
Yeah. So it sounds like that for breakfast, you kind of have like 2 or 3 things that that you like and that you can like rotate through. Mm-hmm. Would that same type of system work well for you for lunches if like ahead of the week,
totally,
you were to kind of, pick, like either a taco salad or, sandwich and kind of rotate through those. And each day you could kind of make them a little bit different.
I would love that. Having like some variety spin on it would be great.
Yeah, I always find it super overwhelming to try to like fully meal plan different meals for lunch every single day. But I totally get the kind of like not wanting to eat the same exact thing every single day. And I think that like that idea of having like a few things that you rotate through, and maybe what I often suggest to people is what I call like basic like meal plan rotations, where you kind of come up with those ideas for 1 week. Like, so 1 week for lunch, you rotate taco bowl and sandwich. And then like the next week you rotate doing like a soup and a pasta, like a cold pasta bowl. And then like each week you just flip back and forth. And then you can kind of change up that 1 week the tacos is with chicken, the next week it's with beef. And again, you get that rotation of different foods.
And then if there is a dinner that I love, I could eat it as a leftover, but don't have to.
Yeah. And if there's ever that, I'm a huge proponent of making up enough dinner to be leftovers for the next day. And then maybe, adding in like one, just like a little bowl of fruit, or, like if it wasn't like large enough, or adding in that cheese stick or something like that to, like the leftovers. But I really think that if that works well for you with like that breakfast idea, something you could try is just ahead of the week trying to plan just even 2 lunches that you could kind of rotate through. And before that time, cook that ground beef, cook make up some chicken in the Instapot. And that's where I even like next step level further to take that is, instead of having to like prep those meats on like the weekend and do huge prep days, I always like, if tacos are one of your dinners for a night, if you have, like a larger Instapot or larger cast iron, like triple the amount that you're making in there. And then like if you can get, different things to freeze food in, I love portioning out like the size that you would use for a taco or for a salad, putting them in and freezing them in those portion sizes, so that you could even, then just like having, 3 options in the freezer of some cooked beans, some cooked chicken, and some cooked beef. And then when you come to lunch and assembling your salad, you have like those 3 options to pull from and can easily reheat how you want to and create like a simple meal and kind of change it up. But it doesn't take a ton of time, doesn't take a ton of effort. Does that sound like something that would possibly work for you?
Totally, it works. We're working on it. I feel like those are the types of questions people come in with. It's either I don't want to eat the same thing, I get overwhelmed when it comes time to actually choose the meal. So being able to kind of play off of the individual, and everybody who's listening to this already knows what their preferences are. Like, I don't want to eat the same thing every lunch, or I don't plan ahead. And so I don't think we can beat this enough. Like, the horse is dead by now, but planning is the difference between succeeding and not. Like, having a plan, whether you're organized or not, having a loose plan is better than having no plan at all.
And that's where I tell people too, that if like you're feeling resistant to that planning, and that's why I kind of created the idea of even just having a basic rotation of like, this is taco night, this is casserole night, this is a stir fry night. Like, that if you still like you aren't fully ready to like commit, like just even starting there and having that kind of structure, or planning ahead of time, these are the 2 types of meals I'm gonna, and that you can individualize them, or kind of, some people have that like, I don't know what I'm going to feel like some, I might plan something on Sunday, but come, next Friday, I'm not feeling like that anymore. And so that's where I kind of am like, you try to, introduce the ideas of like, well, could it just be that you have that the ideas that you alternate between these 2 or 3 options, and have the things on hand to be able to kind of, make them mix and match as you want through the week based on what you're craving, what you're feeling for the day.
What do you guys think about that, just as dietitians, that like I plan this and I don't want to eat it, or I make it and I don't want to eat it multiple days in a row? Like, I feel like sometimes I want to be like, suck it up, don't waste food. Like, this is such a first world problem.
There is a time and a place for all of that. And that's another thing that Maureen, I'm going to just say some things I've learned from her, is in that case, Like, let's say you planned something, or the meal that you have, you just need to eat something quick, and it's really not what you're looking for. It's like taco meat and frozen green beans that you've like mixed together because you needed a veggie with some fiber and you needed some protein, and this is what you have. Maureen, I'm going to quote you on this. What can you do to make that meal more yummy? She works with kids a lot. And so sometimes it's something like, why don't you have also a handful of like peanut chocolate trail mix next to it? Or can you have a bowl of popcorn with it? Or a smoothie? Something else that will bring that note of enjoyment, pleasure, satisfaction to a meal that you're not all that pumped about. Because sometimes the main course, eating protein and veggies for every meal, it's not always glamorous. It's not always fun. It's not going to always be your favorite food. And there will be times where you need to eat something just because it's what your body needs, and it's not really what your taste buds or brain are saying that you're into. And this is like Maureen's learning ways. I'm answering this question. I should just shut up and let Maureen answer it. But I learned this from her. Is adding in things that make it more exciting. Okay, can you like tortilla chips? Will that make this more yummy for you? Adding extra sour cream to it, would that make it better? Like, even if it's just something extra, like I'm going to have a bowl of ice cream after I eat this because I need something that's going to be satisfying and tasty to me to make the meal that wasn't very exciting feel satisfying to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Maureen? Did I do it right?
In those type of situations too, I know, yes, 100%. Like, that's for sure. I always look at that, and there's like the times that I open my refrigerator and it's like, oh, these leftovers are what are from lunch. And there's the days where I mostly do it, and maybe I'm not like 100% excited about it, but it's fine. But there's the days that there's just something inside of you that's like, I need, or like I just need something different. A lot of times around like that food waste, I'm a huge proponent of freezing foods. I'm constantly going through my fridge, asking myself, am I realistically going to use this in time? And if not, I like make up I love keeping, just like some containers that are like the bento box style one, and like taking leftovers, putting them in there, labeling it and freezing it. Cause it's like, I don't want to eat this leftover now, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to find this meal and I'm going to, it's going to be the best. So I like doing that too. And just like, because I'm all about not having food waste, but just also looking through your fridge enough times and just kind of getting in that rhythm of, as you're looking through your fridge, finding things and having those thoughts of like, the green beans like that we've been eating for the last 2 days, but there's still a ton. My mind jumps to like what, taking it out, freeze it. Like, what can I do to freeze it? Or what can I do with it to completely transform it into like a new meal or a new dish to use for later. So those are, I love doing those type of things. And then, exactly. Like a lot of times we do a lot of eating our leftover dinners as lunch the next day. And our kids are like not the most always excited about that. So it will be like a smaller portion on there, like of what was the meal. But then I add, like a little fruit salad and like, something like some goldfish, popcorn, a few, trail mix or something, especially if there's, if I'm missing more of my grain or my protein or a healthy fat, I'll try to add those in and create that variety for just making the meal more fun.
Maureen, brilliant as always. All right, let's hear from our sponsor.
We're taking a quick break from this episode to talk about one of our sponsors, the Prenatal Nutrition Library.
We love the Prenatal Nutrition Library. It's a searchable database and app, which means you have answers within seconds and peace of mind that what you're eating during pregnancy is both safe and nutritious.
It's almost like having your own personal pregnancy dietitian in your back pocket that's going to not only tell you, is it safe to eat this? How much of that should I have? Yada, yada, yada. But give you actual meal plans so you know how to put it all together onto your plate today. And the meal plans are trimester specific, meaning, some women are kind of nauseous in their first trimester and maybe they need specific foods to help combat that. Prenatal Nutrition Library has got you covered. Or the fact that your baby's brain is growing rapidly in your third trimester and you need your nutrition to support that. Prenatal Nutrition Library meal plans has got you covered there too.
This is evidence-based information. Registered dietitians are in this app weekly answering members' questions. There's an exclusive podcast within the app that's run by Ryan, who is the prenatal dietitian that founded this entire thing. It's a wealth of knowledge and resources and will take you far beyond that one-page handout your doctor handed you that actually probably has out-of-date information about eating in pregnancy.
So head on over to the Prenatal Nutrition Library as soon as you get your big fat positive. Well, okay, first message me and Caitlin so we can do a happy dance with you. Then head over to the Prenatal Nutrition Library to get clear strategies to meet your nutrient needs, as well as to take the stress out of confirming what's safe and most optimal for you and your baby while you're pregnant. Use code FFF20 for 20% off.
So next question for you, Maureen. When you start working with someone, like Maureen, you have a history of actually working in people's kitchens with them physically and not just working virtually, which is mostly what you're doing now. I did home visits
for 8 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in those 8 years of home visits, what did you find? Like, what are some typical things that you think our listeners might be encountering that are the roadblocks in their own homes, in their own kitchens? And what are some solutions that you've workshopped over the past 8 years?
Yeah, for sure. So I would go home, I would go in, and I was working with people that were living with various types of chronic illness and like had health goals. They had been referred through like a doctor or a healthcare provider. So like they had a desire to make change, but were wanting that, you know, like needing help from a nutritionist. So I would come in at this point where they're wanting to make change, they're ready to make change and are ready to receive. And I found that most people, you know, had received basic education. They had taken the diabetes, you know, courses that you could through the hospital. They had, you know, done a number of things, but they just had that, complete breakdown of actually making it happen or not knowing what to do with like the food in their refrigerator. And the first thing that we would always do is we'd go into their kitchen space. And I just kind of noticed how people felt in their kitchen space and just noticed that so many people moving into their kitchen space just got that like physical dread like wash over them. And I just would like oftentimes talk to people about like, this is you walking into your art studio. Like this is you coming into this space that a lot of people that are working on a healthy change behavior have like a broken relationship with food. Like food, like to our core is supposed to be enjoyable, pleasurable, like this, like just nourishing process. And along a lot of people's like health journeys, like that relationship gets broken. And then I find that people then just in the kitchen, just, don't feel like an artist in their studio. It's like, this just not a fun place to be. So I talked to a lot of people and just kind of saw that the way that you were in the kitchen, the way that you were able to walk around your kitchen, move around your kitchen and be in it is just so huge to you being able to implement it. Because if like you're sitting in your living room thinking about lunch, but just the idea of getting up and being in that space is just kind of depressing to you. Like you're like the motivation to go look in the fridge, be in there and to like start to brainstorm lunch or put together like the things that your doctor or that your nutritionist are telling you, it's just not going to happen. Like it's just not going to happen. And so that's where I started really working with people on just kind of transforming their kitchens. And through that process of kind of cleaning up, tidying up, making sure so many people don't even have a sharp knife. Like that blew my mind. How many people don't have a sharp knife to work with? And it's like, well, yeah, meal prep is not going to be fun. Like chopping everything with a paring knife.
That's Caitlin and I's number one peeve. Like when we cook in other people's kitchens or when we go stay at an Airbnb or whatever, is like, I cannot do with your crappy knife or your warped, cracked cutting board that I'm supposed to be using. Like I can't do it. Then the sharp knife, you guys, makes so much difference.
Yes, it really does. But I love working on helping people because I also find that as people go through cleaning up the kitchen, I feel like it can be a very like healing process because again, it's that doing something external to help something internal, like changing that external environment, helping to start and move things in the internal. And I think that for a lot of people, again, on those health journeys that are in their kitchen space and have like that kind of broken relationship with food, it's kind of the like giving a kid an animal to take care of, or like, going through that process of like putting time and effort towards those pieces, and through that, just being able to kind of process the changes that they want to see themselves make, being able to envision like, oh, this is going to be so nice when I, can open up the drawer and it doesn't, get stuck on the can opener every single time. Like all those little things just like add up. And when you remove those and create your space to be a space that when you walk into it, you kind of more like can feel that like deep sigh of like relief, and like know that you can open up your refrigerator, know that you can open up the cupboard and easily be able to see what's there, like, and it's not overwhelming to you. That can be the like pushing point that helps just kind of, just get you going down that path toward change and implementing the things that like you want to do for like those ultimate big goals.
I think that a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. But what they're picturing is the home edit coming in and like making their fridge look like a rainbow. Or there's this one fitness influencer who every week she does this like fridge clean out and then resetting. And all you see in her video is like, well, first of all, it's this new reel thing where there's all this sound effects. So it's like, the bag of Whole Foods bags hits the counter, and then all of a sudden you slide in the eggs, and you see her grabbing all the things out of her fridge and then putting it all back in perfectly. And I think people think like, hey, it has to be that extreme. And at the end of it all, it needs to look like a Tiffany's box, kind of like that type of a presentation. And what Maureen's describing here is not perfection. We're looking for basic functionality so that the process can go from, I don't even know how to approach this and I'm so overwhelmed, to this isn't that hard. And these systems are set up so that when I open my fridge, like I see the cut up vegetables I prepped, not 3 ketchups falling out of varying levels of fluid inside and different expiration dates. Like getting a system that works and is functional, not seeking this like ideal that most of us are never going to hit in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you follow me on Instagram and have ever seen the inside of my refrigerator, it's definitely, not that like everything in a box, like everything, like just like the rainbow of things. When I work with clients and when I have videos for them to watch to go through, when we talk about the refrigerator, I specifically say, if you look up inspiration on the internet, like be warned, like that's not like I always look at those and I'm like, where do you put your leftovers? There's no room for like after you cook a meal to like put a leftover back in, because it's all taken up by rows of Siggy's yogurt and little individual guacamole cups. And it's like that's not realistic, for like what like functions for a refrigerator. So I definitely love that point out of like, it doesn't have to be to that level.
Yeah, it's not about being ready for a magazine cover shoot every day of the week. It's about being ready for your own life. And you are the expert on what works for you. And that's another wonderful thing about Maureen's sort of non-neurotypical brain, is she works with what her brain is doing. And you'll see so much of this. Spoiler alert, she has a course that she has available for purchase, so you can actually learn how to do these things step by step, day by day in your own kitchen. But things that are like, when you open the fridge, where do your eyes go first? Okay, well, let's not waste that on your 3 kinds of mustard, because are you really opening this because you're wondering what kind of mustard you have? No, but it's bright yellow and it's the first thing you see. And so that's what your brain is going to go to first, when what we want it to go to first is the thing that you're actually opening it to eat. And so you can get those creative juices flowing, because no one starts their meal with, how am I going to use this mustard? Nobody does that. Mustard comes last. That's the last thing. So it should be not the first thing that you're seeing.
This really reminds me of like life with a 2 or 3-year-old. Like if you approach yourself as the 2 or 3-year-old, I have a 3-year-old that if I pick out an outfit for her, it's not what she wants. Like I have, actually now she's 4, but 4 and a 5-year-old, I buy matching outfits for. They never want to wear them on the same day. So like you have this ideal of what this is going to look like, but the real life of it is actually more fun when you let it be a little bit messy, but the experience you're trying to live, like let the 4-year-old wear whatever dress she wants and she's going to have fun at the park. Let the ketchup be at the back of the fridge, and put those veggies you're trying to prioritize and the washed berries somewhere that you can actually see them.
Yeah, definitely. It's for sure about individualizing. And I do think that that's, like something that you always talk about, like with your clients or just like on Instagram. We're trying to talk to like the generalized public. Like it's not at all individualized, tailored medical nutrition therapy, that it is just kind of like this broad sweeping, and that like we would hope that people look at that and get inspiration, but then, tweak it, change it for like what meets their needs. Because it's going to be different for everyone.
So you walk into the kitchen with somebody and you make it functional. Like what's the next step in the process for someone?
I typically, as I start working with someone on cleaning up, I break down the kitchen into like doing that over like a period of time. We kind of start with like the pantry and the refrigerator, like the most kind of accessed areas. And then I will start to kind of weave in a little bit of meal planning. But that's where I go from there, because I talk about how when you start with meal planning, I always encourage people to first go to the refrigerators, peek in their freezer, peek in their pantry, and jot down like the things that need to be used up or that are in the refrigerator, a few of the things that you have on the freezer that could be used, and a few of the things like in the pantry, and to use those as like your starting point for meal planning. So that's where I kind of blend and move from organizing the kitchen into like looking at how to meal plan. But because now your kitchen is organized, it's much easier to start the meal planning process, because that's what I typically work at, is like looking at what do you like, using what you have on hand and what needs to be used up.
Maureen, a question that I have, because I hear this a lot. What do you do when someone comes to you and says, this all sounds like it's going to take up a lot of time? What's your response to something like that?
I typically try to help people see just how much time they're already spending on food. And that's just also like when I always tell people too that like people want to buy, like an art, like just sit, like they're always asking nutritionists, just send me the meal plan. I just want a meal plan. Just send that to me. And I feel like all nutritionists know, like I can do that, but it's not going to do anything, because
it doesn't work. It doesn't. It's just another magazine diet is what that comes down to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I always talk like food does take, like there's planning, shopping, prepping, cooking, cleaning, like all of those things that all takes time. And if it's just, if you're not doing it well, if it's stressful, it's just so much time of your day and of your life to just not be feeling well, not just be in like a state of stress. So yes, there might be some time investment, but it's, it's going to be for like increasing the overall joy of like your day to day and like of your life. That, like the things that we do care about do take some time investment. And that at the very beginning is always kind of like feels the hardest. Change feels hard. My like mantra that I give to people is that you're creating your new normal. It's not always going to feel hard. It's not always going to feel new. It's not always going to feel difficult. I always say you are creating a new normal, and like this isn't always going to feel this. It's not going to always feel this way. And that sometimes we have to push through the hard, because like doing those tasks, sometimes that gets back to just looking at and dealing with mental health, dealing with self-worth. I feel like that a lot of times people that have kind of that, like, I don't know if I can put in the time for this. A lot of times it's kind of like, I don't know if I have time to put that into me, or like that I want to examine me.
You are
or
saying a mouthful right there, Maureen.
I try to really help people see that like this is worth it to invest in. And that we can I try to, as much as possible, break it down and make it be realistic for, yes, you are working. Yes, you are raising children. Yes, you are working. You have other stressors, other things going on besides just food. So making it like, doable, but also like this is going to take a bit of a shift and focus too for a bit of time, but then it won't always feel this way.
And it deserves our time. That's another thing that is really true, is like, this is worthy of your time. Yeah, it does cost time. We're going to call a spade here. Doing this in your kitchen is not the same as just door dashing every meal, or rolling through the drive-through, or eating from the deli, or just opening boxes of snacks and making your whole life be that kind of food. It's not the same time investment. And that's the long and short of it. But just like what you just said, it's a worthwhile endeavor. And Caitlin, you're the one who's always like, It does. But what if 1 hour of work today saves you 4 hours of work throughout the week?
Exactly. It's investment. I like to say, because usually where people are willing to put the investment is like time to exercise. Like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times this week for an hour. It's like, okay, you know what? Let's take away one of those exercises and just put an hour extra in the kitchen at the beginning of the week, and you will feel so much better by the end of the week. And the other thing that you're going to get if you can actually adhere to, and Sophia and I talk about this all the time, blood sugar balance, is you're going to get more energy. So it's not just a time thing, but like I had all the time in the world yesterday, but I was really tired for a number of things. If I wasn't tired, I would have been more productive. And so if we can feed you a high protein, high fiber breakfast, you have snacks you can reach for so you don't end up grabbing a Snickers bar in the middle of the afternoon and between lunch and dinner when we have a natural lull in our circadian rhythm and cortisol is dropping off and your energy levels go down. That's predictable. So let's plan for it. And then you're going to get to dinner with a little bit more energy, and you can put 20 minutes into taking the stuff that you barely prepped and turning it into an exciting meal.
For sure. I ask a lot of people that idea of like, if they've ever heard of fight or flight, and then if they've ever heard of the other side of that of being rest and digest, and asking like, where do you spend the majority of your time living? And just kind of helping to realize that, yes, like self-care a lot of times is slowing down and helping move your body, shifting away from that fight or flight, living in that state of like that constant, cortisol stress level, and helping your body move into the state where it can heal, relax, and digest and be, and like process the food that you're getting. So a lot of times I find, a lot of people like know and can feel like, like as soon as I say fight or flight, I feel like people it's like, yes, like I feel like I'm in this constant fight or flight. And it's like, what would it feel like to rest and digest? Like, what would it feel like to shift into that space and be able to like allow your body to heal, allow your body to relax? And I think that a lot of times just kind of taking away the immediate, just like mundaneness of some of the tasks of preparing food, like, and zooming out to like those bigger goals and like checking in with your body and how it feels like on a day-to-day basis, and just like asking for them to envision like what it could look like and what it could feel like, that then can help propel that into motion, into like making the change and realizing that it's okay to slow down, make time for these things.
Even just hearing that question like brings my heart rate down. Like, what would it feel like to be in more of a rest and digest? And anymore, I don't think the conversation is so much trade me an hour of your time working out to prep in the kitchen. It's like, give me an hour back of your social media time over the whole week. I'm not even asking for the hour you spend before bed where you're just flipping through TikTok. Just give me 1 hour back from the time that you're hanging out on your phone, really not doing anything and stimulating that fight or flight response. And let's devote that to something that is really going to pay such rich dividends in your health. And I think overall, setting up the systems, making your kitchen better, meal planning, and you can find varying degrees of that match your interest of being in the kitchen. Like, I love cooking. I don't expect you to love cooking and tinkering with recipes. Like, you can also just buy pre-packed cooked chicken and microwave a vegetable, like throw a great sauce on it and you can be done. It doesn't need to be, Martha Stewart living.
Yes, it's okay if your meals are simple and on repeat. Oftentimes, that's what gets the job done, is simple meals on repeat. It's okay if you have like 10 core dinners that you make all month long and just swap one out next month when you're sick of it. You can do that. It's about finding what works for you. It's not about making you turn into me or Caitlin or Maureen. It's about using the knowledge that we have to apply to your own life. And that's something really wonderful that Maureen's program brings to the table as well. It's how to make your life function for you. so many people listen to this and they hear us talking about like, oh, cold water fish. And they're like, fish. Ugh. Well, it doesn't have to be fish. We're not telling you you have to eat fish in order to get pregnant. You can eat what you want to eat, but you can make it work for your life. And even just, Maureen, hearing what you said just there about switching out of your fight or flight to your rest and digest. How many times on this podcast have you heard Caitlin and I talking about reducing stress? And you are probably thinking that means quitting my job and cutting these family members out of my life and meditating on a lily pad for an hour every day, or these things that are huge changes to your life that have repercussions for decades or generations. What if it's something like making eating not stressful to where your meals aren't kicking you into that fight or flight? That is de-stressing. That's the kind of reducing stress that Caitlin and I are talking about on this podcast day in and day out. That's what Maureen is bringing here. That is what you can do to de-stress your life, is make the little things that you do all day long less stressful. So instead of taking this enormous machete to a really important area of your life and lobbing it off entirely in the name of stress reduction, what if you could do a trim across many areas of your life, starting with what you're eating?
Yeah, for sure. I think just making it be small, realistic goals. I love helping people set the big goal, to have that to like look to have that be the motivator. But then I always talk about coming back to reality and setting like the small goals, or looking at the realistic changes and things that that are actionable today, that can like happen now, and just moving through those. Because as you gain the confidence in doing the small goals, and you get that sense of accomplishment, and you get that sense of like that I can achieve this, that pushes you into the next one and the next one and the next one. Whereas too often we set the really high goal and can't meet it, and have that kind of sense of failure, not going to be able to succeed, and like
yet another like thing that I can't do. I'm never going to be able to get this right. It's impossible to get pregnant, to change my life, to change my kitchen.
Yes. Yeah.
That's self-defeating, self-fulfilling narrative.
People, yes, for sure. I love helping people just like look at the practical things of like getting like sticky, like notepad, like sticky pads, and, like writing down messages that are, either like words of encouragement that help you to like remember to like, treat your body well, or just the basic, like grab a protein with your snack. Like if you even just need it down to that, and putting it inside, on the hood of like your oven, or putting it on your mirror in the bathroom. Setting phone alarms, like setting in like weekly phone alarms to like help remind you like, oh, this was the day that you had chosen to try to meal plan for the week. And this is the, and starting those, that if you don't have those rituals or like that natural process, like of your mind reminding you like, oh yeah, we should meal plan, like create visuals, create, whatever it is that works for you, phone, sticky notes, telling a friend, going, like having that accountability through even like your mom, that when you call, that's something that you talk about, to help them be ingrained as like a habit that just becomes, again, creating the new normal, like that it just becomes normal. But sometimes at the beginning you do need help. Like you just need those reminders that like, oh yeah, these are the things I'm working on. This is what I need to remind myself of.
And if you can flip it to being your new normal, you can then make it more fun. Like Sophia and I, and I'm sure Maureen can do this too, is like you look at a recipe and then you're like, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I want to make it more this way. And then you start doing it. You'll get better at that. You will also be able to look at a recipe and cook, but FaceTime your sister and hang out with her while you cook. Some people might think like that multitasking is too much for me right now. But once you get a little bit better at these things, you can do that. A lot of times my husband and I will meal prep together, and he's my sous chef, and I'll be like, chop this, do that. And we'll open a bottle of wine and we'll listen to a show that we're listening to together, or like put Great British Baking Show on in the background, which is something we both enjoy watching. And it's like we actually make a date out of it. If we can kind of separate from this is just a task that needs to be done, and decide that this is part of life and I can enjoy the moments that I'm doing this, it will feel less like a task and you will actually enjoy it. That mindset piece is just as important.
also, when I work with people, talk about that idea of like who else is in your household, and that if you are trying to make changes in the kitchen, don't try to like fly solo on it, that it's so important to bring along the family, your partner, whatever members might be there. Because like if you're going to just try to do it on your own or make the change and not bring them along for the journey, it's just going to kind of feel like you're like swimming upstream and like not getting anywhere. That it's so important to bring them on board, catch them up to like where you are at, like on your desires to make change, on your desires to change up the kitchen, to say like, you know, this drawer isn't working for me, and, you know, let them know that you're going to be reorganizing it, even just something as simple as that, because it can be so frustrating to start to make change and then just to kind of feel like, you know, like with that part, like with a partner that like you're always kind of like butting heads, or they're not keeping up your organizational system and you just get all the spices.
Opposite here though. It's not that, it's, oh my gosh, it's like I will have something that I'm trying to do and he's like putting it back to the way that it was, like because this is where this is where we keep the lemon squeezer, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not near the lemons, so let's keep it near. And he keeps putting it back anyway, until we have like a family meeting of like, let's keep the lemon squeezer near the lemons, and he has to kind of sit there and be like, yeah, I can see why that could be a good idea. Because like he once he gets the system in place, God help you. But let's take a break here from me dumping on my husband's organizational skills, and hear from our sponsor.
Hey guys, we're taking a break from our episode, and I want to talk about something that's super confusing. When you head down the supplement aisle and you're looking for a prenatal, and on the prenatal bottle itself, it says, do not take if you're trying to conceive, pregnant, or breastfeeding. Like, what the heck?
It says, talk to your doctor if you are pregnant, could be pregnant, breastfeeding, postpartum, whatever. And every supplement has this. You go down the supplement aisle, you go shopping on whatever supplement website, and there's a disclaimer on every bottle of every single thing, which means that everything that you've been taking your whole life long is now a big question mark about whether or not you are potentially harming yourself by taking something where you're trying to be healthy. So that is why we partnered with Needed. Needed is a perinatal nutrition supplement brand that has a wide array of products specifically designed for women who are pregnant, trying to become pregnant, breastfeeding, or postpartum. So it's not just that these products like can work if you're in that situation, or, oh, it's probably okay if you take it while you're trying to conceive. No. These products are researched, they are formulated, and they are put together specifically for women who are trying to conceive, pregnant, breastfeeding, and postpartum.
This answers so many questions. I always get asked, like, what can I take? It's cold and flu season. What's safe? Needed has an immune support. That's safe whether you're trying to conceive, pregnant. It's even safe for your little ones.
And it's not just immune support. They've got collagen, they've got hydration support, they have digestive support, they have prenatal multi. They even made a line for dudes.
Needed is somebody we're really proud to be partnering with. So head over to their website and use code FFF20 for 20% off your order.
And we're back. So rounding this out, Maureen, we've talked about time investment. We've talked about some mindset stuff. We've talked about some self-care stuff. What would you say is like a layer deeper? So once we've sort of got through this preliminary of setting up your kitchen and stuff, like we've already discussed in this episode, what is sort of the next natural step when you're working with someone on implementing these new diet changes, whatever they may be?
Yeah, I typically, once we start working on meal planning, I start to kind of look at diving in deeper into like those tips of double batching things, freezing things, so that as you're naturally preparing a meal, you can, you are starting to think about not only how can this meal work for me tonight, but like, how can I make this meal? How can I make that I'm sitting here chopping these veggies? How can I add in that while I'm just chopping these zucchinis, I'm also just going to chop the bell peppers that are going to be a part of my quesadilla for tomorrow morning, and just being able to put those tasks like together, that while you're doing something, for you now, you also are doing something for yourself later, and creating, the veggies that you're going to be snacking on, or create, doubling the pasta to be able to freeze, or just helping yourself for later, and utilizing the time you already have out the knife, you already have out the cutting board, you already have out the food processor, adding on and being able to see, a couple steps ahead of yourself, to be able to really make it be like that well-oiled machine that now next week, is a really busy week, there's, events going on and whatever, that my kitchen and my freezer are kind of set up with those things that I spent time on the last few weeks prepping or having and setting up, that when busy weeks happen, when I don't have a meal plan, I didn't get time to meal plan, I still have all of the stuff in my kitchen to be able to efficiently pull, grab, and create a meal that feels effortless, rather than it, throwing you off, stressing you out, and you not feeling like you can get back into the routine after a week of sickness gone through the house.
It's like task blocking instead of time blocking, where you're like, oh, in your work day, I'm going to do emails here and social media here. And, it's in the kitchen. You're like, hey, I'm already chopping. Let's make this efficient. Let's pull out anything else I need to chop right now.
Yes. Yeah. That's typically what I start to work on with clients after they kind of build those baby foundational skills and it starts to become a habit, is kind of taking it to that next level of, being able to look ahead.
And so if you're talking about, hey, I'm going to take this meal and I'm going to freeze some of it, can you give us a couple practical skills about freezing meals? Because I think a lot of people look at that and they're like, okay, but how do I freeze it? Does it go in a Ziploc bag? If I freeze it in my Tupperware, how do I reheat it then? Because that's plastic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Maureen Strength here, the gear goblin. She's got all the little stuff. I'm so excited to hear it. Whip it out. Let's hear about your stasher bags, about your ramekins. We want to hear it all.
Yes, I typically use stasher bags. I use gallon freezer bags, and then I use mason jars, and then
silicone molds. Do you hear how she pronounces bags? Is that not the cutest? Montana, everybody. She grew up in Montana.
It's so true. I know. I also say library really weird, I hear. So yeah, I typically like to have those things. And then again, when you do have a meal plan with the freezer, the thing that I tell people a lot of times is with thinking about if I'm freezing in plastic, I typically don't reheat it in the plastic, but I like to be able to I'll look at my meal plan in the morning and go, oh, I'm pulling out the soup or the whatever that maybe is in a frozen gallon Ziploc bag. And I bring that out to thaw and, set in the refrigerator the night before on the counter. And so I have that forethought, and so I'm not trying to reheat it. Or I like to use mason jars that are glass, or use glass containers, stasher bags, all of those. And with freezing, the main thing for quality is trying to just reduce the amount of air, is trying to remove there being a lot of air stored in with the product. So whatever you're putting it in, helping that, I've done where you put the little straw in, or just straight mouth on the Ziploc and sucking it out to get the air out, and just making sure it doesn't have any holes and being able to store it. And then again, with your freezer, having your freezer just not be, that to get something from the bottom requires
jumble that's going to fall on you and break your toe,
digging through a pile. Yes. Having it be just set up and using freezer labels. I'm a huge proponent of buying just a little roll of freezer labels, having a Sharpie that are right next to your freezer, that as soon as everything goes in it, labeling it and putting it in there. And remembering that food in the freezer doesn't go bad, doesn't go food safe bad. It just decreases in quality. So I try to with things in the freezer, move through them in a 3-month time, if they're not vacuum sealed, frozen.
I think a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, why didn't I lose that? Why didn't I learn this when I was younger? Why didn't I? And I think
because you didn't slip on ice and break your leg when you were younger and get stuck in a Earthship house with no internet, where all you have to do. This happened to Maureen. She slipped and fell on ice and broke her leg. Tell us the story, Maureen. Why don't you This is how she got to be as great at all of this stuff. It's everything that was you would maybe count as like an L was a W for Maureen.
Just little 7th grade Maureen going to school with her French horn and her giant backpack. Just slipped on the ice in Montana and like right out by the school buses, and yeah, just like really broke my leg bad. Was in a cast for like 6 months. Like it was so long that I was in a cast for. It was crazy. Yes, that was my life. Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, I always tell people, I just wrote in an email that I sent out that I was like, most of us didn't have home ec class. Like our generation, we didn't get that. And we were kind of like in that generation of like just the explosion of ultra processed, microwavable everything. And so for a lot of people just don't have, like, have the skills of, or you think that you have to be, I always kind of laugh. I always think that like people think that to eat more food from home, you have to like start like soaking all your grains, making your own hummus, and like canning your own food. And it's like you can, if that like is in you, you can go that far, you can go into that, but you don't have to go, like it doesn't have to be that.
I do see that a lot where it's like now on social media there's all the homesteaders, and so people think it either needs to look like home edit or homesteading. And most of us are going to live in a huge gray area in between that doesn't really look like either one of them.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I always tell people like stir fries one night can look like mincing up garlic and pouring in a vinegar and pouring in soy sauce for making a sauce. And other nights it can look like, Whole Foods basic teriyaki sauce that you bought in the jar.
And it can be frozen veggies that you're putting together or ones that you cut yourself. It can be, and you get to decide where you want to land on that spectrum. And Maureen is also the budget queen. And so something like buying pre-cut, pre-sliced vegetables, usually she's like, forego that and cut them yourself because they're cheaper. But if you've got an extra $20-$30 of wiggle room in your grocery budget this week, and buying already pre-cut things is going to actually make the meal happen from home for you, or keep you out of the drive-through line, or keep you from just making a dinner of like goldfish crackers, pickles, and string cheese, then this is going to be money well spent.
And that's one other, just thinking about like those, when I teach people how to meal plan, one of the things that I have them do is before they meal plan for the week is they write down next to like the days of the week schedule notes. And from those schedule notes that impact or impair like how much time or where you're going to need to be like around like the dinner time, from that you look at it and plan like, okay, these, like these really busy nights are, I don't get home, or my partner isn't home to like help with the kids until later. Like these are the nights that I need I want to make a stir fry, but this week I need to make it be a stir fry where the broccoli is already pre-chopped, the sauce is pre-made, versus on another week you can look at it and say like, this is actually like a more relaxed, slow evening. I will make, I don't need to buy pre-chopped broccoli. I can get these things. I can make a sauce. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to double the sauce, freeze the other sauce for later.
Because you've learned something else in this episode. A great way to waste money at the grocery store is to buy food and then also buy takeout and let the food go bad in your fridge. So another thing that I often tell people is like, hey, if by Thursday is the rough night in my house. It's like, Daddy's home late and I've been working all day and everybody's tired and exhausted and already ready for the weekend, but we got one more day. If 8 out of 10 Thursdays, you just want to get takeout, just plan for that. So you're not also buying stuff that you then are going to let go bad in your fridge, and you're going to buy takeout anyway. Or buy some of the takeout and make the rice at home, because that's actually not that hard to do. And it's only one thing, like the Instapot or the rice cooker or the pan. And so you can do an in-between and still make it work and not have a bag of mixed greens that's going to go bad again in your fridge.
Yes, for sure. And that's why I love looking at and thinking about, I call them schedule notes for your week, and thinking through those so that you can plan meals that are according to the vibe of the evening. Like for Thursday nights, what type of meals, you know, like you need to have for those that aren't going to be, you know, trying a new recipe from scratch.
And remember who you are. Don't expect that come Thursday, you're going to be a different person. Am I going to be a different person who likes to eat completely different things and has completely different skills in the kitchen on Thursday? No. You're still going to be you. So you need to plan for that. You're not going to become someone else by taking Maureen's course or by listening to this podcast. You're still going to be you, who hates the taste of raw red onions and loves Cheetos. It's still you. So you're going to have to work within those confines next week. So when you're planning your meals, planning your grocery list, planning your schedule, remember, you're you. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to transform yourself into a different person in order to be healthy, in order to get pregnant, in order to have a healthy baby. You can still be you.
Oftentimes we don't self-reflect backwards and go, hey, I went through some really hard things. Maureen got a master's degree with dyslexia. And, you know, like we've all done really hard things. Listener, you have done really hard things and prioritized things like getting a degree, learning a new skill. Like if you can look back and think of something that you're really proud of and then look forward and go, I'm worth it. And I've done hard things before and I can do this, even though it may feel hard, even though it may feel overwhelming, even though this puts me way outside of my comfort zone, you're worth it and you're capable of doing it. You can.
Yes,
and we see all the time on this show,
just need to tell ourselves that.
One of our big things on the show and what we're trying to encourage every woman to do is that what if your life, your body is just as valuable as that of your unborn baby? Because we see so many people that once they find out they are pregnant, that's when they're like, whoa, okay, well, no more alcohol. I got to quit vaping. That's when they're like, whoa, okay, I need to not be going through this drive-through line. Let's try to get some veggies. Let's try to get some protein. Let me start taking my prenatal supplements. That's where they get this big motivation because the life of this baby is so precious, so valuable. They want to protect it. What if you're valuable? What if your life today, just as you are, has the same inherent value of that unborn baby? What if you take care of yourself starting now instead of waiting until you see that positive pregnancy test? Because that's not going to make you worthy and that's not going to change who you are. You're still going to be you who hates red onions and likes Cheetos. But like Maureen just said, your opinion of your body, yourself, your worth, the stakes feel higher once you see that positive pregnancy test. So what if we shift that forward and start that right now while you're trying to get pregnant? Well, I think that's a good place to take a break and listen to our final sponsor of the episode. We're taking a break to talk about our sponsor, Fertility Cloud. In working with hundreds of you ladies, we have noticed a problem that has come up. I know it's come up for me, Caitlin. It's come up for your clients as well. And that is not only finding a doctor who is going to know how to help you, but one that wants to. We have a lot of issues here, and sometimes getting a simple blood test or actually getting a medication or talking to someone who's actually an expert in fertility can not only take an insane amount of time, but it can feel like you're fighting your doctor.
Yeah, or you're playing like Russian roulette to get in front of somebody who actually cares. We are so excited to be partnering with Fertility Cloud because they have a solution for all of these frustrations. Just last week, I had a client that needed right now care, and we couldn't get her in front of an OB. And she got a same-day appointment with Fertility Cloud and spoke to a reproductive endocrinologist and had a prescription that she needed in her hand hours later. This is a solution that our industry desperately needs, and we are so excited to present to you.
So if you're in a remote area and you have to drive 4 hours to go see a doctor, or if you've been to multiple doctors and none of them seem to really listen or really care or want to take an approach that works for you, start up with My Fertility Cloud.
My Fertility Cloud has provided us a link, so check it out in the show notes. That will get you $25 off your first visit with one of their providers. Guys, I am so excited to tell you that the PCOS app is sponsoring this podcast episode. The PCOS app is a one-stop shop for all things PCOS. It's also your meal guide and inspo all in one. If you love listening to me on this podcast and you feel like, hey, I want Caitlin to be in my ear every day encouraging me about how to manage my PCOS, then you have to go download the PCOS app. We have curated articles to answer questions that you have about PCOS. There are short snippets in the PCOS Answers podcast exclusive to the PCOS app. We also have recipes where I not only give you the recipe, but teach you within the recipe itself what I have done to make it more blood sugar and hormone supporting so that you can take your own recipes and make them more PCOS friendly. If you've been looking for the Google of all things PCOS, with the filter of compassion and expertise that you get from Caitlin Johnson, RD, then you have found it in the PCOS app. Head to your Android or Apple store today, download it, and let's hang out. So coming off of that, not only are you worth it, but it's going to be really fucking hard to do with a newborn and then a newborn and a toddler. Like, there is no time but now. Now is the time to build these habits so that it's like muscle memory later, and it's easier to fall back to after you come back from vacation, after you get more energy after maternity leave. Like, these are skills that will pay off for the rest of your life. And maybe you're about to go on vacation when you're hearing this, and it's like, well, don't try to implement this the 3 days before vacation. But the time is now. Prioritize this soon in your life, and then you will be able to benefit from it quickly.
Yeah, before I got pregnant or had kids, I had a friend suggest to me a parenting book, and they're like, it's so worth it to read it now, and like it's so good to like do this, like it was. And I actually did it. I was surprised I did, and it was so beneficial because there were so many of the things in it that I started working on then, before I even, was pregnant or raising kids, that was so beneficial. It is, it doesn't get easier.
And we see people do that all the time. They're like, well, I just want to be pregnant now. I'll work on my health later. And we're like, oh yeah. Yeah. You're going to balance those hormones. You're going to work on your stress and sleep with those twins. Oh, sure. Okay. Good luck to you, sister. But in reality, starting now, doing it now, it can just be so easy to have that tunnel vision where you're like, baby, pregnancy, it's all that matters. It will solve my problems. It will make me feel better. I will be so motivated. I will be all these things once the baby gets here. And it's not real. It's not true. It doesn't make anything easier. In fact, it makes it even more challenging in a lot of ways. And so getting this going, starting now, while you're preparing your home, your mind, your heart, your body for this baby, that this is the time. Mm-hmm. And you're worth it. You're worth it right now. Even if you never go on to be a mother, which, sister, if that's the prayer of your heart, I am praying for it right along with you. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, even if that wasn't something you wanted and that wasn't your goal or what you were working toward at all, you're still worth having a peaceful kitchen and an enjoyable mealtime experience. Because like Maureen said, it takes up a lot of your life. I'm sorry that God made our bodies to where we need to eat multiple times a day. It's just how it is. There's no changing it.
Yeah, I always tell people you can skip a day at the gym, but you can't skip a day feeding your family. It's nonstop, all day, every day.
Well, for our closing remarks here, Maureen, why don't you, like some last tips, tricks, like this course that you're launching, tell us what it is that you're doing and how people can start to work with you and start to implement these things. If a listener is really resonating with what you're saying, which how could you not be, then tell us how we can do that.
I'd love to. Yeah, so the business that I have is Yes Peas Nutrition, and you can find me on Instagram at Yes Peas Nutrition. And I do have a whole online course that is the stress-free family meal planning method. And I do have people in it that are not currently yet a family, and where it is like working on the skills now for when that does happen. And
a lot of our listeners, they already have a child, and but they'd like to have another, and that's what's making it so hard. Is before they had a baby, they could do all these things to work on themselves, but now here they are.
And you're a family
trying to get
when
pregnant with baby
you have
too.
a partner.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Having a child isn't what makes you a family.
Yeah, and I work with families on all of what I saw from the 8 years of going in and doing the home visits. I took all of the what were the foundational things I felt like people were missing: the meal planning, setting up their kitchen, really basic label reading and nutrition information. And then that next level too of like, how do you bring your kids into that? How do you get them involved in the kitchen? How do you help? Picky eating, and like just even that term, and like kids being picky eaters is such a huge thing right now. And parents just not knowing what to do to how to like help their kid eat variety, and like how to meal times just become such a frustration, because like you spend all this time on making a meal just to have like your kids not like it, not eat it, or whatever. So the program also really brings in, how do you involve the whole family in the process, and how do you make it, my whole thing is on making it not only be physically nourishing, but also emotionally nourishing meal times.
I think another piece of it is just slow down. Let's slow down our expectations. Let's slow down the information overload. Let's just slow down and actually eat food together.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can't be every day of the week, based on people's schedules. And that's where I'm like, start where you can. Start with what's realistic. What's one day a week that it can be this. Then then can you, work. And typically after people start incorporating the time for it at 1, and they see what it feels like and what it bees like, then they start to make room to make it happen on more meals, more time.
So people can find you on Instagram at YesPeas, Peas.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, Peas.
Yes.
That's so awesome. This has been super delightful. Sophia and I know a lot of these things, and even still, you know how the algorithm works, like when you hang out and look at somebody's information, or you watch the reels, or you go to their page and then they show up more, like Maureen's at the top of my feed, because even I'm learning a lot and getting great ideas from her. And
you're so sweet.
So make her at the top of your feed, like interact with a little bit of her comment, because I promise you multiple times a week, you're going to be like, how am I this many years old and I didn't know how to do that, or that this would make my life so much easier. Today I was that many years old when I realized I needed to follow YesPeas all the time.
You're so sweet.
Practical,
Thank you.
so fun. Her sweet personality is mixed right in, and she's just
and her
compassionate. And cute little redheaded kids. Caitlin is a sucker for the redheads. She's got redheaded kids too. And Maureen married a redhead as well, so her kids have that red hair too.
And Maureen, that's an Irish name? Are you Irish at all?
Yes.
Yeah, girl.
Maureen.
Can we segue to yeah, girls?
Nicknames before this, and she gets called
me.
Mo a lot, but I am special and call her Reen.
Okay, now let's do our yeah, girls. What are we?
Okay.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Moving on to the yeah
Who's going
girl.
first?
Okay, I'll give a yeah girl and a no
Let's do it,
girl,
girl.
at the same time. We're making a joke that we have girls and no girls. Your no girl
Sophia
is saying
got her haircut of the year.
Okay, thank you.
She got her one and only haircut. I knew what you were going to say.
Yeah. Because listeners, when we first logged on here, we talked for like 10 freaking minutes, and these two people didn't even notice that I cut like 8 inches off of my hair yesterday.
These
Best
two people that
friends,
love you enormously.
Yes.
In our
I got a
defense,
haircut.
we were trying to figure out sound issues.
I was very sidetracked.
It's all
with
about
figuring out my
me.
audio.
And that's why Maureen has Panda beautiful headphones, which you've been looking at all episode wondering. And if you haven't been looking at it, do you know that you can listen to this podcast on YouTube now? Head over and subscribe to our YouTube
Audio
channel.
and video. You can look at our
Okay,
faces.
My girl.
Sophia got her haircut of the year. We always hear about when Sophia goes and gets her haircut on the podcast. Now
Yes,
you can
I
see
got my
it
haircut
in living
once a
color.
year.
Now you can see it. Yesterday, I was complaining about it. I had to get it cut in 2 installments because it took a while, and I had to hop on a call with my new bookkeeping service. And so it wasn't like the layers weren't really like cut into it very well. It didn't have the shape that it has now. And it straight up looked like Professor Snape. It was like this.
No.
Harry Potter.
Not at all.
Harry Potter. Your father was a
No, girl, it does
swine.
not look like that.
No
Okay,
girl. Maureen's
no
on
girl.
brand. Okay, so what's the yeah girl in this? That you got a haircut?
I don't know. I just want you guys to care that I cut
And
my...
what's the no girl?
The no girl
And the
is
no
that
girl
you
is that we didn't
care.
notice.
Oh my gosh.
My husband now with like the yes peas, we're always to things saying yes peas and no peas. Like if we do something, he'll be like
that's
no
so
peas.
cute.
That's no
so
peas.
No peas.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. Is
whenever
that
we
yeah
call a baby
girl?
cute, we say him so cute because my niece said it one time. It's just funny how you get those things with your family where you just say it
Yes.
weird because somebody said
Oh,
it
I
weird and
know.
it's funny.
Yeah, or
Yes.
even someone that isn't like a friend of ours has a 3-year-old who was looking at my youngest Jenny and was like, "Oh, I like that little pink baby," and called her the little pink baby. And she is so pink. She has the pinkest little cheeks and like little pink hands and pink feet. And I dress her in pink a lot. She's the little pink baby, and so we call her the little
The
pink
little pink
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
Do you want to use that as your yeah girl? I mean, you've got
I don't know.
things going
Yeah,
on.
use it. That's fine. Who cares?
Okay.
No wrong answers. Yeah, girl. I took time to get my hair cut, and I did it.
Way
I
to
cut a
go.
lot off.
You did it.
Yeah, girl.
And it looks great, actually. It's very fresh.
Doesn't look like Lancel Lannister. You guys don't know who the hell that is. Okay.
I don't know who that
It's
is.
a Game of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones.
It's like, yeah, it is.
Actually, I have watched
it's like-
Game
I
of
was-
Thrones.
It's like D-level character. Like it's season 1 Lancel Lannister. That's what this hair looked like yesterday. And not, thank God, not season 5 where he's bald with a crucifix in his forehead or whatever that is. That star they like burn into his forehead. Okay. Anyway,
Okay,
moving
we
on. Who else has got a yeah girl? We've
we are
talked about
heading
Snape.
down.
We've talked about
Caitlin,
the Lannisters.
what do you think we need to hear
Enough
your yeah girl?
nerd. Enough nerd from me today.
You want to hear my yeah girl?
Yeah.
All right, my yeah girl is that my second child turned 4 a couple days ago, and we just had the most fun celebrating her. We did the biggest balloon arch ever, and
I saw it.
It was so
very
fun because
impressive.
we were like, we were trying to figure out where we were going to like do the arch, and then I had this great idea. It's like, it's a mermaid tail. Let's like hang it all the way down from the banister down 2 levels, and it was epic, and it was just a great day. And
Was
I'm
she
still,
really
like,
thrilled when she saw it?
happy and thinking about how? Oh yeah, she was.
Did you surprise her with it, or did she help you build
beaming.
it?
She just was. No, we did it after they went to bed, and then we like kind of hid it in a room in the house. But of course, little kids run everywhere. So she found it, but it just looked like a bunch of balloons. She thought she could run through, and learned very quickly that they were all attached to one another.
I saw that post of yours, and I have my kiddo's 5th birthday coming up, and I had just bought a balloon arch, and it was so helpful to see you filling it up, because now I'm rethinking when I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna take it to the playground. I think
don't
I'm gonna have to
recommend-
save it for the house.
I mean, it would have taken up 3 minivans to get there.
Yes. I was planning on putting it together when we got there, and I'm realizing
In the
that's
wind,
a no girl idea.
That's a no girl idea for sure.
That's a no piece.
no piece.
No piece.
Oh, but
right.
our neighbor, this was really funny. Let me tell you one thing. So our neighbor says to me, he's 7. He came to the party, and actually he's my new favorite friend. His name's Rowan. He says to me, "Did you guys do your Bonnie's birthday party at your house because you can't afford to go somewhere?" It was one of those moments where I was like, this is really funny, but I'm not going to laugh. I'm going to answer
Either
you.
he's been told that, like, no, we can't go to that place. Maybe
Yeah,
he doesn't
someone
have a
used
birthday
that as an
opposite.
excuse
Like,
to
don't
tell
you should
him
be
no.
thankful because, yeah.
Someone
Yeah,
used
right.
it as an excuse to
So I
tell him
texted
he
his
couldn't
mom,
do
who I'm
something he
just-
wanted to do.
I'm like,
I love how honest kids are.
I
Just
love
the
it
things
too.
that they
I just thought it
will
was
say,
great.
It's the best.
I thought it was great. I texted his mom because I thought it was cute. And I was like, Rowan said this, so funny. Like, you know, he just like, he's so honest. And he asks the funniest questions. And she was like mortified. And I was like, you know, I'm going to hold back telling you some of the things he says to me if it's just going to mortify you all the time. Because I think it's cute. And that's why I'm sharing.
Yes.
But also somebody probably should teach him that asking money questions like that isn't polite.
Totally.
Yes. Yeah. I
The
love
other
that
day,
too.
My daughter Ruby said, the other day Ruby said the cutest, or the not cutest. It was hilarious. I grew up with another sister, so I wasn't used to at all having like a boy in the house. And I've been discovering the joys of like raising a boy and a girl together, and just, you know, like private parts being different and like that being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I took Finn's diaper off to give him a little bit of diaper free time. And he crawled up into her bed, and I just like hear her like yelling, and I go in there and I just look at her, and she's just like so exasperated, just goes, I didn't want a penis in my bed.
That's so much.
I tried to hold it together. I laughed so hard. And
my gosh,
like
that
now
reminds
there's been a
me
few
of-
more times where she's tried to repeat the joke, like
Oh, yeah,
picked up on
'cause
that.
you
That was
laughed
really
so hard.
funny. But
That's like
I was
Caitlin
like,
when you had a
"Girlfriend,
pimple
I hear
and
you.
your
Sometimes
daughter was
I don't
like,
want a
what
penis in my
is
bed."
that? Oh, it's a
Totally.
blemish.
Bonnie
It's called a
tries to touch
pimple.
it in the
And you go to
bathtub.
give her a... Oh, Seamus's? Yeah.
Yes.
You go to give her a
yeah,
kiss
Bonnie's
with a
like
pimple on your face, and she's like, "No, don't give me a pimple kiss."
Don't.
I don't want
she
a
was
pimple
all about
kiss.
it. Oh man.
Yeah, the stuff kids say.
Like she was gonna
Well,
catch
what was
some
the yeah
STD
girl?
or something.
We didn't. I don't remember it. Did you say it, or did we just talk about the penis in bed?
No, she didn't say it yet. No,
Okay,
she was just
say
talking
it.
about
Say your
penises
yeah
in
girl.
bed, which is
Just
very
God,
on brand
Maureen,
for our podcast.
What a creep! She just comes on here and is talking about penises all the time. More like yes, penis nutrition.
That's
Okay,
business for someone else, not for me.
we gotta get a men's
Not my
health person whose Instagram handle is
Nope.
yes, penis nutrition. Where's our ED specialist with a yes, penis?
I know. I
Ooh,
think they
we
have a
should do
lot of
an
followers.
ED episode.
Do you know what? I
would
actually
be
have
good.
a
Making a
few.
note.
I have a few notes here of future episodes for male infertility and erectile dysfunction and infertility that I got from the Jewish fertility seminar that I was part of recently. Okay, give us your yeah girl before we talk about dicks some more. I gotta get us out of here. Creeping everybody out.
My yeah girl, I mean, this is totally also on brand for me. We're going camping for the first time this summer, this upcoming weekend, and I pulled out all of my camping stuff and put it all outside and reorganized it and cleaned it, and it just like made me so excited. I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah, girl.
really hopeful
Fun.
for it. And it was fun to like go through the stuff with my kids and like just talk about, we just start talking about like the camping, because I feel like camping was such a big part of like my childhood growing up,
Mhm.
that it's just like one of those things that I'm like, I'm here, I'm at this stage. Last year we kind of missed out on camping with Finn being so little that we just did not venture into that. So we missed a whole year of no camping. So I'm super excited to get back
Yeah,
into it this
that's
year.
so fun.
How awesome. Well, Maureen, thank you very much for coming on the show. You have definitely given our listeners a wonderful resource, and we would love to have you back on anytime. So if you're
Yeah, this was
listening to
great.
this,
I'd love to.
go ahead and rate, review, subscribe. That helps sort of boost our podcast. And the reason we care about that is it helps women who are struggling to find this resource. So write us a review, give us a rating, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. This has been another episode of Food, Freedom, and Fertility, and we are thankful for your listenership. Have a fertile day.
Hey, it's Sophia. If you love the show and want to continue your health and fertility journey using our resources, head on over to foodfreedomfertility.com for show notes, links to products and services, information about our guests, and our newsletter. Again, that's foodfreedomfertility.com. Thanks for listening.